Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for December 16th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the podcast. It is Tuesday. That means it's time for a little bit of motivation / positivity. Brought to you by the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com for details on how you can join the team today. Come over and let's have some fun. This Day in Philly Sports History is a proud member of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. All right, today we are going to go to our old pal Mark Manson. And if you're not subscribed to his newsletters, you get like 2 or 3 a week. They're really good. So I highly recommend it, but I've used him a lot before. He is the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. Great book too, by the way. But today's quote: everything good comes to an end. Learn from it, grow from it, be grateful for it. Everything bad comes to an end. Learn from it, grow from it, be grateful for it. And I think this is the perfect quote for me. It came out last week, and with everything with my current job, everything was approved by the board meeting yesterday. So waiting it out this week to find out if I'm going to continue to have a job, I'm going to get laid off or not. So everything should come to a close at some point this week. But I really like this quote because to me, life is a cycle of change, and trying to keep things into perspective sometimes is very hard. So appreciate the moment and don't dwell on the things that are negative. Don't cling to the things that are positive, because it all comes to an end at some point. Good times end, bad times end. It's how you take what you've learned and apply it moving forward that is important. So that's really what I'm trying to do. Learn from the good times. Had a lot of great experiences. Was able to boost my resume, really cut my teeth as an AA school administrator. But obviously it sucks, especially going into the holidays, losing a job and everything. But if you look at the bright side, everybody's healthy, things like that. So it's, like I said, it's a game of give and take sometimes. But you learn from both the good times and the bad times. I'm going to be able to take what I've learned in my 10 plus years, if this is the end, and apply it to a new job, a new situation. Obviously, the bad things, I was able to learn from that, grow, becoming a better person and administrator because of it. But living in that discomfort and growing through the discomfort, I think is key. Like, it's easy to say, oh, things are going well, this, that, or things are going bad. Oh no, what am I going to do? But that discomfort and that uneasiness, that's where growth and that's where learning happens. So that's the mindset I'm taking into this. And I think it's a good way to be, because you learn from, there's a sports tie in there. You learn from your mistakes, you get better. Jalen says it all the time. You either win or you learn. So you take the defeats, those L's, and you learn from it and be comfortable in that discomfort. But be thankful for what you have. Like I said, the health, things like that. I'm in a position where I am going to be able to start looking and ultimately land on my feet if I do lose this job. So look at the endings and the conclusions and the losses, not so much as losses, but as signatures of progress. Okay, checkpoint. This is where I am. Let's grow from it. Because at the end of the day, tomorrow's going to come. We talked about this last week. Tomorrow's going to come either way. It's how you're prepared for it and what you do with it that matters. So learn from the wins, learn from the losses, and make the most of every day. And that, I mean, I'm saying that it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm not miserable. I'm not pissed off. I'm not frustrated. I'm not angry. I'm not sad. All of that stuff. But trying to keep it into perspective, learn from the wins, learn from the losses, because everything good comes to an end. You got to learn from it, grow from it, be grateful for it. Everything bad comes to an end. Learn from it, grow from it, and be grateful from it. From our old pal, Mark Manson. And truthfully, grateful for the opportunity for 10 and a half years or almost 10 and a half years. If this is the end, grateful for it. Not the way I wanted it to end, but I've been in this position before, and I will be better prepared for the next situation. So hopefully you can take that as you go through your weeks, apply it to anything that's going on in your life, whether it be job, family, relationship, whatever. Take that, learn from the wins, learn from the losses, and be prepared for the moment. Tuesday Motivation Positivity is brought to you by, as always, by the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network. Go to clashingconferences.com to figure out how you can join the fun. Lots of good things. Special episode coming up very soon, so stay tuned for that. I'll give you the details when it's ready. But good people over there. All right, let's go into our housekeeping. Knock that out. Be sure to follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo on all platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and continue to spread the word. Even if you're on Spotify, if you can go over to the YouTube channel, give a subscription, like all that stuff, that would be great. Reviews, comments, all of that helps the algorithm out. I'm working with some people right now to try to increase my social media spread, I guess is the way to do it, or my footprint. So working with things. So all of that stuff helps. So come on over, interact, whether it's a trivia question, calling me an idiot for my takes, whatever, all are welcome. And if you missed yesterday's show, I just wanted to point out again, thank you if you did donate to the gift and food drive. This year we were able to donate $200 worth of Target gift cards, as well as 146 pounds of food and supplies. I thank you. The Maddie Ann Dixon Community Cupboard thanks you. And obviously everybody who will benefit from your donations thanks you as well. All right, today's random act of kindness. This one you might not be able to do until the weekend, but we kind of take turns doing this, and let your spouse sleep in. A lot of times my kids, for whatever reason, maybe I sleep through it, I don't know, they'll wake my wife up. So there are times where I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's start the day. Let mom sleep in for a little bit, or take care of the kids at night. And I know our situation is a little bit different, but typically I'm the one that takes care of the kids at night. So every now and then my wife will be like, you know what? I'll take the kids to practice. You do what you got to do. So it's a team effort. So let the spouse sleep in. Take care of the kids. Whatever you have to do to make that work. All right, and then trivia. Yesterday was the anniversary of the day we threw snowballs at Santa. A day that the national media never lets us live down, even though it happened back when my parents were still young and teenagers for the most part. But the Eagles did lose the rights to the first pick and O.J. Simpson that year, which caused the anger that led to the snowballs. They had the third pick in the 1969 draft. They drafted running back Leroy Keys, who ultimately ended up playing safety for them. So he didn't do so hot at running back, moved to safety, and the Hall of Famer that they passed up, who went number 4 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, was Mean Joe Green. Changing the whole complexion of their team and trajectory, obviously ours. Who knows what would have happened if the Eagles drafted Mean Joe Green. Might be a good What If Wednesday topic. Just throwing that out there, so stay tuned for that. All right, so I had a chance to kind of dive a little bit more into that Eagles game. And again, I am going to preface this one more time. And I know there were people, the haters, were saying, oh, well, it was the Raiders. And then there are people out there saying, oh, we're going back to the Super Bowl. Both sides need to pump the brakes slightly, because the Raiders are a horrible, horrible football team. It was obvious very early on they did not want to play in that game, as cold as it was. Dome team, coming east, playing in the cold, playing in the snow. So both sides there need to pump the brakes. The truth is somewhere in the middle. And there are a lot of good things to take away from that game. We talked yesterday a lot about Jalen. He needs to build on this now. Hopefully, what we saw from a play calling perspective will continue. There was the creativity with the play calling was so much better. But I think the most important takeaway, obviously the defense too, we talked about just a dominating performance by them. Anytime you give 75 yards up to an NFL team, that's pretty damn impressive. I mean, I don't care how bad the Raiders are. That's pretty damn impressive. They couldn't get anything going. So we'll take those positives with the asterisk, I guess, that, yes, it was the Raiders. But they played a clean game. They did not make those mistakes. They did not have the stupid penalties that has plagued them over the past few weeks. Cooper DeJean's penalty for taunting or whatever it ended up being, not necessarily smart. However, I get it. He wasn't going to be punked. He wasn't going to be pushed around. So in certain situations, I don't think that was a bad penalty to take. Hopefully, he's more careful with that if the situation arises and it's a closer game. But overall, a clean game, that's a good takeaway. Special teams played very well as well. And as I mentioned yesterday, it was the first time they played a full, complete game the entire time on both sides of the ball and special teams. So I think we take that and we learn from it. And just like the Tuesday quote, you learn from it, be grateful for it, but now it's on to Washington. And some good news on the injury front. There is a possibility that Lane Johnson will return, which will hopefully give a big boost to that running game. Jalen was a little gimpy with his knee or an ankle. I'm not sure which one it is, but we'll kind of monitor that as we should find out more information on that today. I do think that at this point, it does appear the Eagles are kind of locked in to the 3 seed. I don't know how much they're going to fight for a 2 seed, so we'll see how that goes. But I think you got to play, you got to win the division, and then kind of see how the rest of the NFC goes out. And if you got to rest Jalen for a week or however that works out, you do that. The other big story that I heard people, this was more a Twitter thing, lots of people upset that Jalen wore a New York Yankees hat. And are we still on that? Like, is that still a thing where we get upset by what a player wears at a post-game press conference? At the end of the day, I don't care if Jalen likes the Phillies, Sixers, or Flyers. I don't. I really don't. It doesn't bother me one bit. I don't care if he comes out wearing a Mets hat or a Braves hat. Doesn't bother me because at the end of the day, I'm worried about how he plays on the football field for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't care what he does during baseball season. I don't care if he's a Knicks fan or a Celtics fan. So what? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And truthfully, I wouldn't even care if he wore a Cowboys jersey. At the end of the day, if he's performing on the field, you wear whatever you want. He can come out in a clown suit. Doesn't matter to me. So I think we get too sensitive because we're so engrossed and enamored into our Philly sports that we forget that a lot of these guys aren't from Philadelphia. They had lives before they came to the Eagles or the Phillies or whoever. So at the end of the day, I don't need Jalen Hurts to be Bryce Harper. I don't need Jalen Hurts getting a swoop tattoo or a Philly Fanatic tattoo. I don't need it. I really don't. I need him to go out, not turn the ball over, and lead the Eagles to a victory. And I'm sure there are a lot of you out there that disagree with me, so hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Let me know your thoughts on this, because truthfully, I don't care. I don't care at all. It's as long as he's not, like, wearing a Yankees hat is not going to impact how he plays on the field. It's bottom line. And like I said, Bryce Harper is the king panderer, and sure, you love that. You want guys invested in the community, but Jalen Hurts also goes to the school district of Philadelphia and donates air conditioners so kids can learn and not sit in buildings that are 100 degrees. I'd rather that than him be like, go Phillies. It's just my thought. But let me know your thoughts on that on the Back to the Future voice and text line. So So speaking of those Phillies, they made a move yesterday, essentially signifying that Nick Castellanos will not be back on the team. They signed Adolis Garcia to a 1-year, $10 million contract. I don't know. Lots of people were excited about this, and it doesn't really move the needle for me. And is he an upgrade defensively to Nick Castellanos? Absolutely. And I think the writing is kind of on the wall. I think I've heard some rumblings that the Phillies are looking to shore up their defense, specifically in the outfield. But from an offensive standpoint, dude's a Nick Castellanos clone. Right-handed bat, doesn't hit well against left-handers. He had great seasons in 22 and 23, but numbers went down drastically last year. I think he hit like 220. Nick hit 250. Their home runs were about the same. Garcia does have more of a chance to pop one out. I think sort of Max Kepler-esque. If he can go back to where he was in 23 when the Diamondbacks went to the World Series and they knocked out the Phillies, great. But it just doesn't move the needle for me. It's just kind of like you're replacing Nick Castellanos with a better defensive Nick Castellanos. I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing the point on this. I just don't. And I'm sorry, he didn't play for the Diamondbacks. He played for the Rangers. They beat the Diamondbacks. But again, I mean, he was the MVP of the ALCS, had some good power numbers, but he hasn't done anything in 24-25. So they're the same age. It doesn't move the needle for me. And maybe it's a low risk, high reward, like I said, but okay, our defense got better. I don't think that Garcia is going to be the guy that protects Bryce Harper in the lineup. So we'll see how it goes out. Hopefully I'm wrong on that. And again, we're in that mood today. So if you want to tell me I'm an idiot for that take on Garcia, that's fine too. Convince me. I would love for you to convince me that this is a great free agent signing. Anyway, Flyers in action tonight up in Montreal to take on the Canadiens, looking to get off the schneid after losing both games this weekend at a home with the Carolina Panthers. So hopefully they are able to bounce back. Reppin' Philly ain't a choice. It's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one-stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh. Stay Philly. Philly Goat. Go Birds. All right, December 16th. First, we're going to go back to 1979. And on this day in 1979, the Eagles beat the Houston Oilers down at the Astrodome 26-20. This is a game mostly used for playoff seeding. The Eagles and Oilers both had playoff berths, wrapped up at this point. So, not necessarily a meaningless game, but neither team was going to win the division. Neither team had a chance to do much other than improve their seeding. But the Eagles did come out on top. Wilbur Montgomery rushed for 60 yards, and in the process established the Eagles' single season record of 1,512 yards that would last until Shady broke it in 2013. The Eagles, because of that win and the way that the Cowboys-Washington game played out, did end up with a home playoff game hosting the Bears the following week in the wild card. But on this day in 1979, Eagles beat the Oilers 26-20. Cousin Wilbert Montgomery set the Eagles' single-season rushing yard record with 1,512 yards during this game. From there, we're going to go to 1990. Eagles moved to 8-6 with a 31-0 shutout against the Packers. Randall threw for 241 yards, a touchdown, also ran one in. Keith Byers threw a touchdown and called a touchdown. It was one of 4 passing touchdowns that Keith Byers had that season. Defense had 5 sacks and 2 turnovers as the Eagles improved to 8-6, setting themselves up perfectly to get into the playoffs that year in 1990. That does lead to today's trivia question. Keith Byers had 4 touchdown passes for the Eagles in the 1990 season. He would He played for the Eagles. He played for the Patriots, played for the Dolphins. How many touchdown passes did Keith Byars have in his career? I'll give you a hint. It's more than 4. So hit me up on the Discord channel, which is the first link in the description, or any of my social media. But how many touchdown passes did Keith Byars throw in his NFL career? And then from there, we're going to fast forward 5 years. And it was a little bit of boxing down at the Spectrum. Mike Tyson took on Buster Mathis Jr. This was right after Tyson was released from prison. He had already fought Peter McNeely, so he was tuning up, looking ahead to try to regain the heavyweight championship. This fight was originally scheduled for Las Vegas, but a couple weeks before the original fight, Mike Tyson broke his thumb while he was sparring. It was rescheduled for Atlantic City. However, due to Don King being suspended in Atlantic City, it was moved across the river to Philly at the Spectrum. It also was televised on Fox, free TV, to see Mike Tyson. And if you guys are a little bit younger than me, this was a huge deal having this fight on Fox. I remember it well because at the time it was pay-per-view. Everything was like $39.99, $49.99. And Mike Tyson still at this time was must-watch TV. So to have it on free TV was awesome. Tyson handled Buster Mathis very easily, knocking him out in the 3rd round, which for Mike Tyson was a long fight. And then we're going to fast forward to 2001. Eagles go down to D.C. and left with a 20-6 win. Took a 3-game lead in the division as they looked to close it out the next week. Defense forced 3 turnovers, including 2 picks by one Brian Dawkins. Donovan was okay, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, but did throw 3 interceptions as they move up 3 games with 3 games remaining in that season. And then finally, 2018, some Nick Foles magic. Could he do it again? Taking over for an injured Carson Wentz, leads the Eagles out to L.A., threw for 270 yards, 160 of them to Alshon Jeffrey. Wendell Smallwood scored 2 rushing touchdowns. Defense forced 3 Ram turnovers. Eagles improved to 7-7, and all of a sudden, we started to get that feeling that maybe, just maybe, Nick Foles was going to lead some late season magic. Spoiler alert, he did lead them into the playoffs and a playoff win. More on that as we get into January, though. On this day in 2001, Eagles beat Washington 20-6 to take a commanding lead in the NFC East. Brian Dawkins with 2 interceptions. 1990, Eagles moved to 8-6 with a 31-0 shutout against the Packers. Keith Byars throwing for a touchdown as well as receiving a touchdown. Mike Tyson knocked out Buster Mathis Jr. at the Spectrum on this day in 1995. And the Eagles beat the Oilers 26-20 in 1979. Wilbert Montgomery setting the Eagles' single-season rushing record with his 60-yard performance, ending the year at 1,512 yards. We'll have more on the Eagles as we start getting into a Saturday game. A little bit Saturday evening football. If only there was a song for that. And I don't know. I think it might be on Netflix. Who knows what streaming service this game is on? Just who knows? Can always listen to Mike and Merle. But remember, as you go through your weeks, good time. Everything good comes to an end. Learn from it. Grow from it. Be grateful for it. Everything bad comes to an end. Learn from it. Grow from it. Be grateful for it. And just, I pray for myself. I pray for all of my coworkers who are going to find out this week that they are losing jobs. So not a good situation, but you make the most of it. You grow from it, and you come out better on the other side. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for December 16th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Tuesday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.